how to cope with rejection. Everyone has experienced rejection from time to time, but sometimes rejection can take on a power and a force that turns it into self-rejection, and that hurts even more. Rejection makes us feel like we're not wanted, not loved. It makes us feel like no one wants us around. It's horrible. Depending on how you react to things, it can make you anxious, depressed, or angry. Rejection by others is bad enough, but after a very brief moment, rejection can turn inwards and become self-rejection. This creates a cascade of negative self-talk that both roots us in the emotions of rejection, but also keeps creating them like a never-ending cycle. Cavemen needed their tribe for survival, comfort, and companionship. Our brains are hardwired to be very sensitive to signals that we're acting in a way likely to cause rejection, or we're likely to be rejected. Rejection is so painful to us because the price of rejection to our ancestors was catastrophically high. We're social animals, and being shunned, excluded, or ignored is very painful to us. The pain of rejection even has a physical basis. Parts of your brain are hardwired to be activated when rejection is seen to happen, when you witness it, or when you experience it yourself. The parts of the brain that do this are also implicated in the experience of physical pain. Look, we're all sensitive to rejection, but sometimes rejection goes inward and triggers our feelings of low self-esteem. If you struggle with low self-esteem, or as I often call it, personal value, then you may be especially sensitive to triggers of rejection. Furthermore, rejection may seem even more painful to you than to others. The problem is that when your rejection trigger is activated, you may take steps to remove yourself from the situation. You might do this by not listening, by putting your attention elsewhere, or physically going somewhere else. But this only encourages the other person to remove their efforts, and so reinforcing your sense of rejection. Fear of rejection also makes you avoidant of situations where you fear rejection may take place, or where you're unsure of what might happen, and this can make you lonely and isolated in the long run. Living in fear of rejection is a good way to develop anxiety. Anxiety is the feeling of threat, and what could be more threatening than the feeling that your innermost self is being rejected? Let's think about how to manage the fear of rejection. The driver for your fear of rejection lives with your inner critic. Let's call them the Inky twins. Inky because they're negative and dark. They share the house of doubt together. And during quiet times in your life, they plan strategies to sabotage you. But they have to be very underhand about it, because if you suspected that they were enemy agents, you'd take steps to get rid of them. Their most potent weapon is their ability to mimic your own voice. When you criticize yourself, it's the voice of the Inky twins, disguised as your own voice. They always lie, but because they're so persuasive and persistent, you come to believe them, and this makes you seriously underestimate yourself. You're a better person than the Inky twins make you believe. If you can logically acknowledge this, then you've just exposed the Inky twins in their deception. The most important point about recognizing your personal value comes from being able to practice remembering it. What? I hear you say, what does that mean? Well, what it means is that you habitually and continually forget the value you have in the world. This is never truer than when you live in fear. You see, fear focuses your attention on the wrong things. It focuses your attention on reasons to be fearful, when you really need to be focused on your own personal worth. Finally, remember not to personalize things that are not personal. The self-sabotaging behavior you get from fear of rejection tends to make everything seem like it's related to you. Sometimes other people have issues that you can interpret as rejection, but that would be a mistake. So don't make issues where none exist. Accepting who you are is the greatest antidote to the evil influence of the Inky twins. Bathe them in the glow of self-acceptance. They hate that and are likely to up sticks and move out for good.